Hi, I'm Crystal.
And I'm Michael, and we're the founders of Superplans.
If you're ready to improve your health and live a life you love, hit subscribe and let's get started.
Welcome to the Super Health Podcast.
Welcome to this podcast. Today we have a special guest, Elisa Angelone. She is a board-certified herbalist, licensed acupuncturist, functional medicine practitioner, and the co-founder of the DenMother in LA. Today, we're diving deep into the world of Japanese acupuncture, muscle testing, what they are, how they work, and why they can be powerful tools for healing. Let's dive right in. Welcome, Elisa. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
I'm excited. I would love to get started to just learn a little bit more about your journey and what led you to acupuncture and holistic healing.
I was very fortunate because my mother's Chinese and my father's Italian. So growing up in Toronto, it was always kind of like a decision we'd make as a family when one of us wasn't feeling well, what doctor we go see and what kind of medicine we would seek out. So it was just always part of my makeup and like knowing of how to navigate the world. So when it came to wanting to find out what I want to do with my life, I was so intrigued with nature and medicine, but also like spirituality and creativity. And so it just seemed like the perfect mix of all those things that I love.
And then you studied acupuncture, and then tell us a little bit about like your background.
So first I actually studied the fine arts, and I really loved creating installation works and like works out in nature that people could like submerge themselves in and feel more connected to like the magic of nature. And so when I kind of started to put together that so much of East Asian medicine and acupuncture is exactly that, right? Getting people to better connect with their environment and better connect with themselves. Yeah. So from there, I went on to do my master's in Chinese medicine. So that's my major background, but I really wanted a teacher. Like I didn't feel complete by just learning out of textbooks, which is it is how it is right now in North America. It's how the medicine's passed on. And so I sought out a teacher, and I was so lucky to have met my Japanese teacher, a third generation practitioner in Toronto. And so I started practicing with him when I was still in school. So really young, in my early 20s, and learning from him. So he just passed down so much information. So yeah, that's my history.
And then I think for anyone listening who is potentially interested, that like have heard about acupuncture, what is it? Is it for me? Let's dive a little bit into those basics of like, what is acupuncture and like, why would someone actually decide to use that as a healing modality for their health?
So I think to talk about acupuncture, I just have to first mention, this should go without saying, but we've become so separate from this concept that our body is one complete, connected, beautiful entity, right? Like I feel like in Western medicine, unfortunately, we've just kind of start divided everything. You know, there's like head specialists, there's feet specialists, there's a liver specialist, and everything's been divided in how we look at our bodies. And so the foundation of acupuncture is that there is an awareness that we are one complete system, and one cannot ever look at anything without looking at everything. And so acupuncture works on the energy channels. And so it's almost like these like little energetic highways that run through the entire system, and everything is connected to everything else. And there's over 400 points along those channels where the energy of the system kind of comes up to the surface. So by stimulating with little, hair thin needles, they're super, super small. It's nothing like a scary needle that I think a lot of people have an idea about. It's literally thinner than a strand of hair. We're able to kind of tap into the energy of the system. And so, if someone were to come in with any sort of like hormonal issues, or, their period's been acting funny or has stopped, we wouldn't just look at the ovaries and the uterus as how one would treat it, but you're looking at the whole system of, is the liver overwhelmed? Is the pituitary and hypothalamus like not able to send proper hormonal messaging? Is there, stagnation and stuck energy like being held in their body that the messaging can't get to where it needs to go? And so we're just constantly looking at the entire system.
And what are some of like the things why people do acupuncture, and what would you recommend of like, hey, these are some of the things you're struggling with, or is it something you will just always integrate into your like routine? Like, what do you think is the best way to use it?
Well, I think, again, because it looks at everything, we can all benefit from it all the time. And so, in the lineage of Japanese acupuncture, which is what I do, we use a lot of biofeedback. So, it's speaking directly to the innate wisdom of the body to understand what's happening internally. And so, we palpate a lot. So, we'll feel around the neck, we'll feel around the abdomen, the feet, because all of the organs and glands of the system, though they're very deep in the body, there's different reflex zones that the masters of over, 5,000 years ago figured out which points of the body are reflections of something deeper within. Then, so for example, if you're feeling around the right rib cage, like that's where the liver is. And so if there's tenderness there, either for the patient or as a practitioner, it feels really tight and stagnant. We know something's not quite right with the liver. Or, if the neck's really tight, that's often where like a lot of like sympathetic overdrive is happening. A lot of stress is being held around the left clavicle where the heart lies. When it's tender there, there's a lot of anxiety being felt by the body. And so it's this dance that we do to figure out, okay, where is energy stuck? Where is it inflamed? Where is it undernourished? And then using acupuncture points to try to bring energy to where it needs to go. So yeah, I kind of feel the beauty of it is that it's a treatment method, but even more importantly than that, it's also a diagnostic method. And so whenever someone's quite feeling like something's not quite right, or something's a bit off, there's this other tool that even if blood work's not telling you anything's wrong, or you go for your checkup and everything's fine, but you're like, no, but something's not quite right. Like I'm bloating all the time now when I eat, or I'm waking up at 2 o'clock in the morning. My hair's thinning. I'm breaking out with acne, like anything, right? Like all the little signs of the body, like symptoms are so, so, so important. Then this is such an incredible tool to both try to better understand where is the weak link within the system and using acupuncture and herbal medicine to try to bring energy to where it needs to go to strengthen the system.
Yeah, that makes total sense. I think it's so important, right, for people to understand. So acupuncture, right? First of all, let's bust this myth, by the way. Like the needles don't hurt. I feel like we just need to scream that from the rooftops.
Yeah, truly.
Because I recommend it to so many people when they're, to your point, right? It's like, like your body's always speaking to us, right? Like we feel something and we're like, I know there's something off, but you don't necessarily know what it is. And often we go to doctors and they also cannot necessarily explain it, right? Like I think I hear that so often around me where it's like, I'm struggling with this, but my doctor is just like prescribing me something, but it's not necessarily right. It's just solving one symptom, but not the root cause. And I think that's the power of acupuncture, where actually it can help you dive a little deeper in understanding of like, okay, but where is this actually, I have this one symptom, but it help you to get closer to this root cause.
Exactly. Because I think so much of the Western testing that we have, and thank God we have it, but it's often getting pinged when something's really out of whack. But if we listen to the symptoms of our body, we can really start to get clear that, yeah, when something's just like waving a white flag and like over here, pay attention. Like even for me a few months ago, my right eye started twitching and it was the strangest thing. And so, first my mind is like, oh, I need eye drops. Like, oh, I'm not sleeping enough. But it was like, no, something's wrong. This has never happened before. My system is clearly stressed out. And I figured out that the new like facial SPF that I was using, I was having a weird reaction to, and it was really stressing out my nervous system. And so there's just such a need to always be paying attention. And when you aren't able to put the pieces together yourself, then seeking out someone that can help decode your body in this way is so powerful, because it doesn't need to get to the point where it's like, oh my God, you have elevated liver enzymes and we need to put you on a medication. It's like, just assess the things when you're paying attention that there's something just a little imbalance and your body's just needing a little bit of support.
Yeah, no, it's so true. It's super interesting. Hey, what I wanted to ask you, obviously we've worked together. I definitely was with you as well. You use muscle testing, right?
Yeah.
With the acupuncture. Can you talk a little bit more about that, like how you work and why you actually combine the two together, as well as actually the supplements, and really what does that look like?
Yeah. So muscle testing is another form of biofeedback, right? Again, like the body is just infinitely wise and wants to be listened to. And so it's all these different pathways in to just kind of assess that information. And so muscle testing uses a series of muscle locks and speaking directly to the nerves using reflexes. And so the way that I do it is I use the left arm, but you could use any major muscle. And I have someone lie on the table and I push on their left arm. And what should happen is, because the body is always looking to protect you from the biggest stressor coming at you, right? Like that's how the body protects itself. Then if I push on your arm, your brain should tell your shoulder to lock up the deltoid muscle so that I can't hurt your joint, right? Same thing when the doctor knocks us in the knee, right? They're not looking to see something wrong with your knee. They're looking to see, is your body responding to stress properly? And so once I get a lock on the system, we can start to speak directly to the body through the nervous system to figure out where true stress lies. Because if I start to compress your liver and your liver's inflamed, or I compress and cut off blood supply to your thyroid and your thyroid's undernourished, that in that moment, the body's not going to prioritize the shoulder as the biggest threat because this is not a big deal in comparison to the thyroid losing nourishment. And so we know that because if I compress your thyroid and repress on your left arm, it went from being locked and like I can't push it down to wobbly. So yeah, it's pretty wild, and it really takes experiencing it to understand. It's direct language of like stressed out, okay. And then once we figure out what's going on, we can start to, I have all these little tester kits, but the body doesn't just trip out for no reason, right? We know this. The body is so intelligent and working so hard all the time. But our world is toxic these days, whether it's the food we're eating or our environment or different immune pathogens that get in that don't fully ever go away. Something comes along and trips us up, and the system works overtime to adjust to it, but eventually it starts to underfunction. And so we use kits to try to figure out what is impacting your thyroid, for example. Is it gluten? Gluten can be really hard on the thyroid. Is it chlorine from the hot tub that you're getting in every day? Like, is it some sort of viral infection? So we kind of help to understand what exactly is weakening the system, exactly which part of the body is down for the count, and then can give really targeted herbal medicine or nutritional support, or exactly which acupuncture points that thyroid needs to become whole again. And we know we have the right prescription when you put the supplements in a glass jar so the body can read it better directly in the body. You recompress that stressed out thyroid, and all of a sudden when you go to press on the arm again, the arm's now locked because the thyroid's no longer crying out for help.
Yeah. Hey, and I've experienced this, and I know to anyone listening, this can sound a little woo-woo, or like, okay, she's like pressing your arm and it's going to tell you what supplements you need to take, how many, what acupuncture, okay, what points. And it's like the moment you experience muscle testing, you're like, this is real. Because like, I feel when you lay there and someone is like using it, and I even had a chiropractor who used it as well. Obviously it can be used with different modalities. It's such a powerful tool because it's not just guessing, right? You're actually really truly asking the body and truly listening to it. It's so,
Yeah, we're not just throwing things at it. And that's why when someone says to me like, "Oh, I have a headache, what can I take?" I'm like, "I can't tell you that, because what's causing your headache? Is it because you're dehydrated? Is it because there's a bacterial infection? Is it because in my case, like some new product you're using is really stressing out your system?" And so it can be so targeted. People get better so much faster.
personalized, right? It's so
Yeah, it's like,
personalized. It's
yeah.
truly, because all our bodies are different. We are different. And it's actually truly listening and tuning into your body versus like what is good for the general person.
Yeah.
But we're all very
And when you
different.
do so, you can just up-level the system so quickly.
Yeah. Hey,
Yeah,
give
I
us
had
some examples. What are some of like whether it's like a couple of stories of like people like who've really seen major health improvements, whether it's through, hormonal imbalances, whether it's putting people into labor, just like give us some like
Yeah.
examples.
So this week, this woman, mid-40s, was experiencing crazy night sweats, like having to change her clothes like 3 times in the night. And she had seen so many specialists. She's tried taking all sorts of, they just kind of assume like, oh, it's perimenopause. They put her on different sorts of hormones. Nothing helped. And when I was muscle testing her, I figured out that her body was incredibly overwhelmed by heavy metals, and in particular, by gold. Her body was not able to tolerate gold, and she wasn't wearing any jewelry. She doesn't have any metal parts inside of her body, any joint replacements, but she has had her ears pierced since she was 10 years old. Sorry, 10 days old. So she has had some sort of metal or gold, in her body for 45 years. And I had her take the earrings out, and within a week, the night sweats have fully gone away. So like that's what we're talking about. Like it is like it can be so dramatic, the difference. But meanwhile, her body's been like screaming out to her for a really long time, being like, I do not like this. I do not like this. This is poisoning me, and it's in me all the time. So it's just, yeah, it's such an interesting way of listening. And then, using acupuncture points to help detoxify the system, help to flush the lymph, help to balance out the parts of her body that were being impacted by this for so long, and using different binding supplements to help chelate the metals out of her, in addition to removing. And that's the really important part too, right? And why you just can't throw things at people. You have to make sure you remove the thing that's actually taking the system down. Otherwise, you're caught in the system where you're going to be taking supplements or medication all the time, because that's why your body needs to just keep at a state of balance, when really the name of the game here is figure out what is tripping someone out, remove it entirely so the body can go back to its full resilience of taking care of itself, which is how the body's designed to work.
Hey, that's so true. Actually, like we all, right, we don't actually heal people, right? But we put people in a good state of health again where the body can actually heal itself.
Yeah,
Because
that
that's
that that
actually,
is the goal. The
yeah.
body is so smart to take care of itself. It's just paying attention to the symptoms, paying attention when something's not quite right, and removing what that is. And so the other beauty too is, and what I love about the Japanese form of acupuncture, palpation, is we all constitutionally, we might have certain weaknesses within the system, right? Like certain generational things that are passed down, or any sort of, major illness that you may have gone through at any point in your life, injuries, scars that may have happened. Like we all have this individual makeup and constitution, that even though, for example, you might, go through surgery, you heal, the symptoms go away, the scar looks good, we think you're fine. If that scar, because it just cuts through so much tissue and lymphatic, and it impacts so much of the system, it's just always about like peeling back the layers to kind of bring the body back into that state of health. And so it's like in looking at someone's constitution and their genetics of how things are passed down, but also assessing which is the weak link within the system, right? And so I don't know if that's like making sense, but the beautiful thing when someone comes in is they might be presenting with a bunch of symptoms that seem to be impacting a bunch of different areas of the body, but it's all about figuring out what's the one domino that started to knock everything else over. Because, for example, if you have a gut infection, it might be the small intestine that's the most inflamed, but then the adrenals are going to start to work overtime to compensate for how much stress is being put on that system. And then when the adrenals start to go down, the thyroid kind of jumps in to help out the adrenals. And so it becomes this like full system support. Goes on for too long, systems start to go down. And so the beauty of really paying attention is figuring out, not just throwing solutions at all the different things, but removing the stressors and figuring out what's the main domino that went down first, and supporting that system. Because once it's back on its own 2 feet, it stops relying so heavily on everything else. So the body can go back to working at its full state.
That's so true. Hey, I have two more big questions I want to ask you. One is, I know you're also, obviously, you supplement people as well, and you're also very aware of the difference between whole food versus synthetic supplements. So have you muscle tested it? Like, what are the differences that you have recognized in people, and why would you recommend a more whole food based supplement?
The difference is immediate, because especially with muscle testing, it is so clear with muscle testing what makes the body stronger. Meaning if you put something on the system and the body wants it, the arm is like rock solid. You cannot move that arm, right? The body's like, yes, 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 yes. This makes me so strong. Please give this to me. Something on the system that is hard for it to process, has chemicals in it, is toxic, whatever it may be, immediately, because the arm starts to go wonky. And so it's, like I had someone the other day, I was in a rush. So I didn't have time to kind of go through everything one at a time. I was like, bring in a bag of all the stuff you're taking, because something that's entering your body on a daily basis is wearing you down. So he brought in, all the supplements, whether they're, all the things, in addition to like colognes and skincare products and shampoos and laundry detergent. And I just started testing things one at a time, without looking at them, just seeing what makes you strong, what makes you weak. what does the body want? What does it not want? So I had him bring in a bag full of all of his daily things that he was using, whether it was like skincare products, the colognes, the shampoo, the conditioner, all of his supplements. And I just blind tested him. So I just one at a time put something on his body and checked his arm to see if it was wanting it and it was making him stronger or if it was like, heck no. And when I went to go look, it was everything that was organic and whole food was in the yes pile, and everything that was, may smell really good, but like was not clean at all, or, those like synthetic vitamins that he was grabbing from CVS, it was all in the no pile. It was so fascinating to kind of see how clearly the body wants, what's clean for it. And I think in terms of the supplements, whole foods, the body knows what to do with that, right? It knows how to process it. It knows how to accept it. And so whatever I can use, like my go-to when trying to give someone the right protocol is always going to be food first, because food strengthen the body's system and then give it what it needs to up-level function so it can take care of helping to, detoxify or strengthen and nourish, versus herbs, which are kind of a bit more hardcore, and it kind of like forces an action a little bit. So yeah, it's really interesting how much better the body can be if you just give it the building blocks of what it requires to function optimally.
100%. And then really quickly, because we didn't talk about it as much, what is the difference between Chinese and Japanese acupuncture?
Well, they both came up through their own individual cultures over these thousands of years. And so there's a lot of differences to it. But the main thing is where the Japanese way, as I was saying, is kind of a dance with the body, and it uses a lot of palpation. It's like feeling around. Really interesting, the lineage of Japanese acupuncture, a lot of it were blind acupuncturists. So there really was such a refinement in like really feeling, right? When one sense is down, the other ones become stronger. And so it's much more touch base and feeling in the body to know where something's not quite right and what it needs to be stronger, where the Chinese way relies a lot on feeling the pulses and observing the tongue. So
Is it
that's
correct that
their
the
way of
needle?
knowing kind of what's a bit off with the system.
Yeah, and aren't the needles slightly bigger from Chinese acupuncture?
Well, no, it depends. It depends where they're being sourced from, right? Yeah, they can be. Yeah, I think another difference is the Chinese. No, I think one of the differences is in Chinese medicine, it will kind of go directly into a point. So let's say something's tender, they might use that as a indication that is that where the energy needs to be stimulated most, which has incredible benefits. But the Japanese way is more like, oh no, if that's tender, that's telling us something. So let's then figure out which other points in the body, which other acupoints, on a similar channel can relieve that tension. So it kind of, I think, can feel a bit more gentle in that way because it's,
Right.
yeah.
No, I agree. I feel Chinese acupuncture sometimes is also more like it moves a lot of energy very quickly, where I feel like Japanese, how I experienced, it's just like much more specific and much more targeted, and therefore also like more gentle in a way too.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes total sense.
Yeah. Last thing, tell us about the DenMother. That is something amazing you created in LA. If anyone listening is in LA or you're visiting LA, you have to go to Abercrombie. At the minimum, you need to get an amazing foot massage and neck massage in the back garden, because that's just bliss. But really tell us about that creation of you and what the DenMother is.
Yeah, so it is, our tagline is we're a neighborhood wellness retreat, because we really wanted to help bring this type of medicine, just awareness, right, of these healing modalities that exist, and make it more a part of people's lives. So going back to your very first question of like, who needs acupuncture and when do you seek it out? I feel like the way we use it in North America, it's like, I've tried everything. I'm really not okay. Like now I'll seek out these more alternative options. But in China, the hospitals have the Western division and the Eastern division. So it's like, depending on what's going on with you, you are either going to go see an herbalist, and get on herbal care, or more the way that we see Western medicine. So it's just our attempt to make these therapeutics a part of our daily lives. And all the services we do are really targeted towards reducing stress in the body. And so, the garden massage, that's it's our easiest treatment to do. It takes only 30 minutes, but it's a targeted massage that relaxes the areas where we hold stress the most. So it's a scalp massage, the neck, the shoulders, and the feet. We have two sauna cold plunges in the backyard. We have gardens and fire pits all around. So just really encouraging people to come for self-care, but then also be in nature, be in community, extend this moment. So, we don't wait until we're completely burnt out and sick to like book a vacation as our way to relax, but remembering that you can have access to these little moments throughout the day and more part of your daily lifestyle to help keep you in a state of healing. And so we converted this old 1930s bungalow, and the 4 rooms of the house are now the 4 treatment rooms, and the living room is now our apothecary, and what used to be the backyard is now our little like garden healing spot. So just wanting to feel really cozy and accessible. Yeah, so we do all sorts of like Ayurvedic body work, and that's where I do my acupuncture and muscle testing. So there's all different ways that one can take care of themselves, but really it's about like reducing stress in the body. And so stress might be something as simple as like, tight shoulders, needing a massage, but it could also be what we've been talking about, like where's the body holding on to stress and screaming at you with pretty major symptoms and needing, much more targeted, personalized care to help bring the body back into balance. Yeah.
And the DenMother is absolute bliss. I love going there. I don't know. I love just sitting there. Sometimes I'm like, I don't need a treatment. I just want to sit.
Yeah, that's why we have all the spaces. It's like, how could I think just being there already makes you feel good and just kind of resets the nervous system.
100%. The energy is just really good. And I think it's even just like for everyone, just walk in, already check out the store. There's so many things to explore. So yeah, it's great.
Thank you.
Elisa, we're gonna wrap it up. I would love to talk another 30 minutes. This is like so fun to learn about everything. But thank you for sharing and just for doing everything you do and helping so many people, because I know it's, you're taking on a lot of energy, still 2 little kids running around, running a business. There's a lot of different things that you're doing and putting out in the world.
I love it so much. It's such a gift.
So I would say until next time when we maybe want to dive into another topic, but that's it for today. Thank you for anyone who's listening. I hope you found this interesting, and we'll be back next week with another episode.
Hey, thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.